Welcome, authoritarian dictatorships, renegades, and giant earthbending slugs, to episode 375 of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 14th of October 2020, and featuring Frontios, written by Christopher H. Bidmead, and starring Peter Davison as the Doctor, Janet Fielding as Tegan Jovanka, and Mark Strickson as Turlo. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and I have more food talk for us tonight. With me are Randy Ronson McCulloch,
Authoritarian, more like totalitarian.
Mad Matt Winchell,
I've become a Jedi.
and Thomas Fireheart.
This is a Sentai team when you need one.
No, seriously. He's a single leader propped up by a military.
Mhm.
That's pretty much totalitarian. All right, so how's everybody's week been?
Oh, gosh.
Not too bad.
After last time I finished Return to Castle Wolfenstein, so that's coming up in a little while. 3 streams into Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2. And yeah, literally the story is you're gonna your main character Kyle goes home to find out that there's like a whole bunch of Jedi stuff waiting for him, and he's gonna now become a Jedi. This is, by the way, happening a year after Return of the Jedi happened.
And another reason eventually Disney said no. But
I still think Disney's full of it. It wasn't that complicated. Kyle's awesome, by the way.
I think it's more there's a bunch of contradictory stuff or people doing different versions of the same thing.
There's some, don't get me wrong, there's definitely some segments of the expanded universe that gets hokey pokey.
It's mostly the stuff set like during or between the movies that there's a lot of contradictions for.
Yeah, that's stuff in particular.
and anything set during the Clone Wars that was then completely,
Although
negated by the prequels.
I wouldn't be surprised if part of that conversation involved things like nixing the mind control gun that eventually led to Han and Leia's engagement and things like that.
What?
That was probably one of the darkest moments of the expanded universe.
Yeah, that's what the hell.
Yeah, the book started with, it started with a foreign dignitary coming to, I think, try to marry Leia. So Han stole their mind control gun to convince Leia to run off with him to another planet, where eventually they get engaged of their own free will without that being involved. But that's how the story got started, and that's definitely not something that's looked upon fondly by fans.
Yeah, that sounds like something that got dropped like a bad habit and forgotten and buried.
I remember fans were also raging when the books killed Chewie.
Yeah, because that was freaking stupid and ridiculous. He was crushed by a moon.
Yeah. Well, they wanted
literally he was on a planet and they somehow used the moon to crush him.
The intention was to kill a main character to show like that this was a bigger scale threat than any they had faced before. And basically, the only main cast member that George Lucas was okay with them killing was Chewbacca.
Wow. George.
It was originally going to be Lando Calrissian,
Oof.
which I can kind of see why, in retrospect, I can kind of see why people would have been upset about that. At the time, I was more like, why is Chewie the one that we're racist against? But
I don't like either of them being the pick for that. At least if they're going to do it, they at least could do it with some taste. Literally a moon.
Well, yeah, anything less wouldn't have done the job. He's fucking Chewbacca.
Yeah, but when you think about this and you see our response, you could see why Disney went, yeah, no.
Again, that's like the exceptions, not the rules of the expanded universe, thankfully.
Yeah,
but
basically Disney had to then, if they had to cut one thing in that thing, they had to cut the entire thing.
Mhm.
And then they
Except that
had
they're
to go
bringing
back
chunks
and
of it back anyways, so what did it
Yes.
matter?
And if you had let me finish, I would have said then they can pick and choose what they want to bring into it by telling it in a way of a new story.
Of course, now I'm
Except that you
picturing
now have to worry if they're going to mess the characters up, but
Yeah.
okay.
like, of course, now I'm picturing like someone making fun of that with like Thanos bringing down that Infinity War, and then cutting to like just something exploding or whatever, and then just the moment from Rise of Skywalker where they think Chewie's dead. Oh god.
Well,
Ugh.
yeah, you ever worry they'll get into the Marvel treatment of these? Oh, he's dead. No, he's not. 5 books later.
I'm already worried that they're going to try and do it anyways, just because Black Widow's going to get a solo movie. Admittedly, it's a prequel movie, but the fact that they're still trying to give her work means that they might be itching to try and re-resurrect Black Widow anyway.
So,
I don't
from
mind
what
it. The
from
MCU.
what
It's
I
a Marvel property.
From what I understand, they already made Black Widow in the MCU into a legacy character. That she's the other main character of that movie is going to be the Black Widow in future movies. From what I've heard.
Boo.
But I mean, they're definitely still doing things set in between the other movies, like the What If series and such. So all the stars of the original Avengers still have work with Disney if they want it.
Do we really need to do a What If series for movies?
Oh, come on.
Well, they need
Come
content
on.
to get people to subscribe to Disney Plus.
You do want a what if. You want them to hire Hugh Jackman and go, what if Wolverine was in the Avengers?
They can do that now.
They can.
And they don't have to worry about the budget so much because it's going to be a cartoon, if I remember correctly.
Okay, I
think you're
can I could see this doing like a totally like spun off cartoony series.
Yeah,
Then
it's,
maybe I can
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah. It's a cartoon, but they're getting the actual actors from the movies.
I
to do
think the
voices.
premise was that they're going to do one What If cartoon for each movie in the MCU. So I guess like pick one thing and have it be different. But I also heard that Marvel Zombies was one of the treatments. So
God.
I'm not sure.
I
how
wouldn't be
that
surprised if
works.
they do an episode of Marvel Zombies.
I don't know if that I don't know if that particular one was a rumor or not. The rest I know is fairly true.
Well, obviously, it's only going to be the one first Marvel Zombie story because they can't do the second one because that involves Army of Darkness.
Anyway, on tonight's show, we have birthdays. We have actually a bit of news. Because, well, there was a con this weekend that Doctor Who participated in, and they dropped a little bit of news. So we will relay that. We will then have some geek talk. Then our episode summary, our review, our final thoughts, and our ratings. So, going to birthdays. Our first birthday is on the 9th of October. And it is AUP's favorite actor, Brian Blessed, who, of course, played King Yakarnos in Mind Warp. He turned 84.
And what's this thing called? An indoor voice!
Not Brian Blessed. He don't have one.
Nope.
And then on the 11th, ironically enough, is the birthday of Nicola Bryant, who played Perry. From 1984 to 1986, she turned 60. Wow. I never thought I would be in a world where Nicola Bryant turned 60.
She's 60? Okay.
She's 60.
She has one of those faces that doesn't age that quickly. That's for darn sure.
And then today, on the 14th, is the birthday of Katie Manning, who, of course, played Jo Grant back in the 70s from 71 to 73, and she turned 74. So she's only 14 years older than Nicola.
Only.
So happy birthday, Brian, Nicola, and Katie. Moving into our news. As we said, there was basically an online streaming convention this weekend, Doctor Who, the New York City Comic Con. Doctor Who participated And they decided to talk a little bit about the upcoming holiday special, Revolution of the Daleks.
Still haven't told us what holiday it's for, though.
No, of course not. We won't know that until the beginning of December.
Yeah,
Because
either end of
this is
November or
preview.
beginning of December, one of the two. Then they'll finally give us a date.
About a month before it airs. If we hear about it in November, it'll be Christmas. If we hear about it in December, it's going to be New Year's.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll let you know in about a month and a half. Anyway, they dropped a couple of pictures from the special. One of which is the Doctor in her space prison, apparently marking the amount of days she's been in there.
I was gonna say this seems a little bit on the nose now. It looks like how many days she's been in quarantine.
Quarantine. Are those what well, never mind. We're not at the. Well, yeah, we are discussing the photo. Are those what tally marks look like in England?
No, I'm pretty sure tally marks aren't too different from ours.
So as to why she's doing it that way, I'm not
5,
sure.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It might just be that.
Might be just
I
a
don't
different
know,
version
because
that they
then
do
there's
over there.
another one that has like 6, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 marked off. So maybe where she is has a 10-day week. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Either that or it's just the Doctor being the Doctor.
True.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if other than that one that only has 6, if the rest of them are a universal 10. It's hard to tell.
Right. I think they're all 10.
Most of them seem to be.
Yeah. The other picture shows the companion trio back on Earth, basically adjusting to life without the Doctor.
At one point, I had kind of speculated that this would be this story would be used as a way for BBC to separate the companions from the Doctor in order to switch to a new companion. Clearly, this was not the plan because they definitely seem to be very involved based on this blurb and photo.
Well, yeah, from what I remember them saying, they've seen the. I feel like they mentioned that they'd essentially seen scripts or something for series 13. So I think the implication is that at least some of them again.
Right. Yeah, I think that's more recent
Yeah.
information. I remember seeing something about an interview fairly recently where the biggest takeaway I got from the article was that the actors made it clear that they couldn't say much.
That doesn't surprise me. They've been very tight-lipped of late.
Yeah.
Chibnall has his own version of the BBC snipers, and they don't have a John Hurt or a Tom Hiddleston to spoil things.
You know, you say it like that, and I just get the mental image of one of these guys talking in an interview, and you just see the red dot on their chest.
Hey, you look to where the red dot's coming from. You just see a man with like a ski mask on, and it just says BBC across the forehead.
Yeah, like I mean,
I
did watch the thing that they showed these images in, and it's funny because every time it's like, can you give us like an idea of what the plot is? And you just look at them all, and they're all like, how can I word this in the vaguest way possible? Sort of a thing.
How can I state this in the same way that a government official would, which means that I don't give you a real answer?
Well, like I think the vaguest thing they say is like, well, the Doctor is still in prison, and the companions are having to deal with like a Dalek invasion without the Doctor around, and that's about it. They can't go into like anything.
Actually, now that you've phrased it that way, I suddenly have worries. We'll see.
I do, because anytime you've had the companions having to deal with a Dalek invasion without the Doctor,
someone dies.
It's been basically bend over and kiss your ass goodbye. I mean, think of Journey's End, or what was the predecessor on that two-parter?
Stolen Earth.
Stolen Earth. When the companions all on the subwave network hear the Daleks. Sarah Jane immediately starts crying, and Captain Jack leans over and kisses his two remaining people and's like, "We're dead."
No, see, those were good moments. I'm sitting here going, are we going to lowball the Daleks so hard that the companions can take care of them?
That is my exact point, Matt. Is these were the response of the last time the companions were having to face Daleks without the Doctor.
Yeah, but they were about to fail.
Yeah,
that's what he's saying.
That's the point. If they're going to change this so that these companions are suddenly dealing with a Dalek invasion and succeeding, at that point the Daleks are absolute garbage.
The Daleks are a complete and total joke, and I can't take this show seriously anymore.
My base assumption is that'll probably be they'll do just good enough to stall until the Doctor shows up and saves everyone.
Stalling, maybe, but actually winning on their own, I really can't see that.
It's one of two things. It's either they're going to stall until the Doctor shows up, or it's going to be a Doctor Light Christmas special. And I have a feeling that would not be received well, and that they're not going to go with that option.
Yeah, especially since usually it'd be the other way around.
The other way, just imagine if it was just like every 5-10 minutes we see the Doctor put another tally on the wall, and then the companions are doing all the work on their own in the A plot.
Okay, so it's not even necessarily a full-blown Dalek invasion, seemingly, or at least the blurb says a Dalek.
It involves a Dalek. Yeah, we don't know for sure.
And they have, with the Doctor, defeated a Dalek before.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's with the Doctor there.
Yeah, but you do have to remember that usually single Daleks are the most dangerous of them all. It's like stormtroopers.
Oh, yeah.
They're cornered beasts, and now they're going to just start blasting.
Yeah,
the law of conservation of Ninja becomes the law of conservation of Dalek.
Oh, yeah. I mean, take a look at the first season episode Dalek, what that one Dalek did to that entire facility.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that thing wiped out, at least 30 people?
Easy. And was still going strong.
Until it got talked out of it by Rose, because they had a weird moment thing when part of her DNA combined with it.
Well, Graham could talk down a Dalek, right? Just convince it to hang up its guns and become peaceful.
Zap.
So apparently Britain's being terrorized by a killer robot that's killing everybody. William Shatner, you need to go over there and talk it down. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, they're obviously keeping everything close to the chest here.
Yeah,
but
they're always going to hold what's actually going on to their chests until the last possible moment.
They couldn't even release us an actual trailer.
Mm-hmm. The trailer will come with a date, probably really early December.
I mean, this is Chibnall, so if there was a trailer, it would have been basically the video version of these two photos, and then a coming soon revolution of the Daleks. And that would have been it.
If they release it now, yes.
Yeah, I almost kind of wonder if it's a matter of they haven't released a date because they're trying to make sure all the effects are done.
Well, no, they got it. That has to be done by now.
Most of it's most likely done by now. Again, it's a matter of that they have this policy where they don't release things until barely a month in advance.
And that bothers me because, back in the previous years, Moffat would have had a full trailer for the episode ready to go by San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah. Yeah, we would have already seen at least a trailer by a couple months ago already.
Even if it was just a teaser, it still would have been more than 2 pictures.
Yeah.
And here we are in October, and we don't know dick.
And it's bothersome.
Yes, it is. That Chibnall is playing it that close to the chest. I mean, we used to bitch at Moffat about playing things so close to the chest. God, he's an open book compared to Chibnall.
So anyways, we got on about this for a while.
Yeah, I was closing. I was in closing there.
We had to milk the new episode news for what we could get out of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's the only new episode news we've gotten since quarantine started.
And probably it's also the only news we're going to get until December.
Most
Fuck
likely.
you, Chibnall. All right, so that's it, but Big Finish news. New releases for Big Finish. We've got the Paternoster Gang, Heritage 4, that came out this week. The Sixth Doctor Adventure, Colony of Fear. The Fifth Doctor Adventure, Shadow of the Daleks 1. And a part of the Time Lord Victorious series, He Kills Me Not, with Paul McGann. All came out this week, so wow, Big Finish has been busy.
Big Finish is just like, and here's everything.
Also, out of them is a piece of news. They have signed a new series of War Doctor audios, which were originally put on hold after John Hurt died. They have hired Jonathan Carley, who has previously played the Doctor in fan productions. Big Finish has signed him to continue as the War Doctor, with 4 new box sets starting June of next year. I'm not sure how I feel about this because I don't know the cat.
Yeah, I'm trying to look him up right now really quick.
Funny thing is, the only thing that shows up on the Big Finish website for him is this.
Yeah.
So,
so Big Finish is not the place to go for him.
IMDb had a bunch of stuff that I didn't recognize, but it all seemed to be fan productions of Doctor Who. And Lost in the Dark Dimension, I think, is a video game. Or
Doctor Who Lost in the Dark Dimensions video, Third Doctor.
Oh, maybe it was a fan movie.
It must be a fan movie, and he played the Third Doctor. The 10 Doctors TV series. He plays the Doctor and K9.
Yeah. I don't know how to feel about this.
Walk Invisible.
I did see somebody at one point saying that they had seen him play the War Doctor and were glad to see him cast for this.
The Almost Doctors TV series. He plays the Daleks and Various.
Yeah, I don't know, because he doesn't really have that much of a professional career. So there's nothing I can say. I've seen him in this. He's good. So.
And okay.
There we go. So according to TARDIS Data Core, this gives slightly better information, at least more specific information than IMDb. He voiced the War Doctor and the 12th Doctor in the Doctor Who Lockdown webcast Doctors Assemble. But again, I have no idea what that was like or what the quality was.
Oh, is that a picture of him? If that's a picture of him, he actually does look like a young Third Doctor.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that doesn't matter, but yeah, that will explain why he was on screen as a Third Doctor, though.
But,
well, there is a fan-made audio of him voicing the War Doctor on YouTube in full, seemingly. So,
yeah, I would have to go investigate that separately, but it's interesting. Hopefully, if he does it well, then maybe he'll do this well as well. He'll do a good job on this.
Hopefully he's a good John Hurt, because if he's doing 4 box sets, it's at least 12 stories, possibly 16 of him being John Hurt.
Let's hope so.
Yeah,
we can only hope. They usually do good jobs, but
they usually do bring. They don't. It's not always perfect, but they usually at least try to do a good job in when they hire up somebody for this.
Unless it's one of their staffers, i.e., Nicholas Briggs trying to do Jack Harkness.
Well, that was one of those things where it's not a full cast, so
yeah, I know.
Still a slap on his hand for some of the mediocre things you've tried pulling.
Yeah, I will never let him live that down. All right. So, the free audio this week is part 1 of the Doom Coalition, The 11. That is, of course, a Paul McGann audio. It is free from the Big Finish website. Go to it, download it. I already have. All right, that's all our news this week. Next, we go to Geek Talk. And Bill, it looks like you're first.
Yep. So over the past couple of months, I've been watching the 4th and 5th seasons of Gotham. I admit their existence surprised me a little bit because when I watched the season 3 finale, it seemed like they were setting up for everything to be over and Bruce Wayne to become Batman. But I mentioned to these guys in between weeks that I think they did that every season because I have a feeling they just never quite knew if Gotham was going to be canceled between seasons or not.
Quite possibly.
So season 4 is essentially so season 3 ends with Bruce Wayne basically expecting Ra's al Ghul to return to Gotham at any time and that he was going to prepare himself for that to happen. Season 4 basically is that story playing out. Ra's al Ghul comes back to Gotham. Bruce kills him. The League of Shadows, instead of assassins, enacts a magic ritual to bring him back to life. Bruce kills him again. And I assume that, another such ritual would take place before actual Batman stories happen. But at least they make it very easily plausible that he would just keep coming back to life. Season 5, well, that's the main plot of season 4. There's also a final plot with Jerome, who was kind of hyped up as a potential Joker in previous seasons. He dies at the end of season 4. And kind of sets into motion the person who Gotham decides is the final Joker, who I actually think is a slightly inferior Joker. Jerome was kind of used bits and pieces from everything. He had the laughing gas. He had bits of Heath Ledger in there. He had the laughing, the joking. He kind of ticked all the boxes for a good Joker. He sets up for Jeremiah to take over, who the show does establish will be the new Joker. And I think he ticks a lot fewer of those boxes, although he does have he does take on more of the visual traits, but I'll go into that. Well, actually, that's a good time. So Gotham has a tendency to make a lot of good decisions and a lot of really dumb decisions. One of the examples of the dumb decisions that they do is they keep repeating plot points that people expect. For example, Poison Ivy, we know that she had a run-in with chemicals and transformed from, I forget her original alter ego's name, to become Poison Ivy. Pamela, I believe.
Yeah,
Something like
Pamela
that,
Beasley, I think.
Yeah. So in this show, her name was always Ivy, but first she ends up in some chemicals and grows from like a 12-year-old to a 20-year-old overnight.
That's not awkward.
And then she's just kind of hanging around as like the dumb sidekick that everybody feels bad killing, but doesn't really have any use for. So eventually in season 4, she gets pissed off that no one respects her. I wonder why. And she goes out of her way to find more chemicals, chugs them, and then becomes actually a pretty good Poison Ivy. It's just a really stupid way of it coming about.
Hmm.
And very similar with Jeremiah. First, Jerome doses him with a special version of laughing gas that turns his face white, which is really, all you really need in terms of visual changes from a regular person to the Joker, especially a person who can pull off that cackling that maniacal face that that actor seems to do very well. But then they also include the Ace Chemicals bath. So it begs the question, why did they even bother turning his face white beforehand? Overall, I will say by the end of season 3, I had kind of been like, I don't even know if it was worth continuing to watch Gotham. They had kind of strayed a bit too far from what I expected of a Batman property in terms of the character paths. I think seasons 4 and 5 kind of bring them back on track a little bit. The biggest change from canon in those seasons, other than Ra's al Ghul being dead at the end, but with the potential for him to come back. But otherwise, the biggest change is that the character who becomes Barbara Gordon's mother, who was, I believe, an original character created for the Gotham show, and they gave every impression that she was going to be crazy and or dead at the end of the show, kind of becomes a relatively stable person who's still alive in the final episode when Batman shows up. So that I found to be pretty interesting. Possibly a case of they knew there would be backlash if they killed every unambiguously queer character in the show. Obviously, Batman has always had queer coded villains, but they haven't had explicitly queer characters until Gotham, which were both original characters, and one of them is killed. So I guess they decided they didn't want to kill all the queer women in the show and get the fan backlash from that. Overall, I would say if you like the first couple seasons of Gotham, at least mostly, seasons 4 and 5 would probably be good for you. I think at that point they really start to get more toward where they're going, possibly because they spend a little less time trying to surprise the audience and a little more time like we know what Batman is like, and we're going to start moving there. One thing I didn't mention is that season 5 is basically an Arkham City plot, which I thought was really interesting considering that Arkham City is a game that exists. Except, of course, Batman. Of course, Batman isn't a thing at that point.
Which is weird.
Yeah. But Bruce Wayne is like working with the police and basically like Gotham, Batman in all but name. It's kind of implied when Bruce Wayne leaves for 10 years and comes back. It's kind of implied that Jim Gordon takes one look at him and can kind of guess who he is, although they don't come out and say it. So pretty much anyone who everyone would probably know who Batman is in this version of the continuity. At least everyone who matters, anyway.
Kind of makes the whole concept of being Batman pointless.
Yeah, I think that's the weirdest thing about it. They do have a very short stretch of Playboy Bruce where he becomes friend with I forget his name, the guy who becomes Hush in canon and in Batwoman. So they show that friendship, but it's only for like 2 episodes, and then Bruce is kind of forced to like snap out of it and realize, no, you're actually Batman. So like I said, some really good decisions and some really dumb decisions. It's a really weird show, and the key is that you can't take it too seriously, and it's just kind of extra flavoring for your enjoyment of Batman.
Yeah, that no, you're gotta be Batman moment is like, no, he doesn't have to just be Batman, damn it.
Well, I mean, that's who Batman is. It's like they always say for Superman is that Clark Kent is real and Superman's a disguise, and for Batman is real and Bruce Wayne is a disguise. That's definitely the case with this version of the character as well.
No, damn it, he's both. He is both. Both of them are both, technically. You can't just have one extreme and then expect to be able to hide it when you're the other. If you can't hide it, then if you can't be one extreme and then be the other extreme at the same time and hide who's who behind the two of them, then it's pointless.
Kind of related to what you're saying there, they never show you Bruce Wayne after the 10-year time skip. They show everybody else, and of course the adult characters don't really change. Selena Kyle, who was kind of Bruce's teen girlfriend before the time skip, they show an older version of her, but they never show an adult version of Bruce Wayne. They just show teen Bruce Wayne and then Batman. So we never see what Bruce Wayne would be like in this universe.
Like, Gotham as a concept, I always found weird the more I learn about it, because it's like,
yeah, the more I've heard about it, the more I've just gone, this is an alternate universe. Forget it.
Let's set something. No. It's like, let's set something prior to the existence of Batman. Okay, cool. But let's also throw in his entire rogues gallery.
Yes,
despite the fact that he's not here. It's like, what the fuck?
Pretty much every Batman character, although all of the Joker related characters and Ra's al Ghul have obsessions with Bruce Wayne, so he does become part of their origin stories, even though he's not wearing the suit. But yeah, it is weird that every villain in that Batman is known for pretty much has their origin before him in this universe. Also, Jim Gordon gets inspired to grow a mustache because of a dream that Bruce Wayne had. But then during the final episode, when they're finally transitioning and saying Gotham is over, this is now Batman, he shaves the mustache back off. So I was like, what's the point? What's the entire point?
Yeah.
Just, like I said, good decisions and really weird, terrible decisions.
Well,
That's the only way I can characterize the show.
The whole idea was the fact that, the CW did this great with Smallville. They had 10 seasons of this show that had great ratings. We can do the same thing, but with Batman. No.
No,
you
no, you can't. Not without going completely sideways and basically making this its own little parallel universe.
Yeah, like
if they had focused on the mobster villains and it was all the Falcones and Penguin and all of that and Jim Gordon, I think it would have made a little bit more sense from a narrative standpoint. But they wanted the wacky shit. They wanted the
They wanted the rest of the Rogues Gallery, and you can't do that without breaking continuity.
Speaking of which, I don't know if this is necessarily the case in Batman continuity because I haven't read as many Batman comics as I'd like. But all of the non-gangster issues in Gotham City could be removed if Hugo Strange was just not allowed to experiment on people. Like 80% of the show is Hugo Strange's fault.
Yeah, that's a Gotham only thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that doesn't sound like that's how Batman runs.
Generally, what happens is a character is introduced. They have some quirks, they have some flaws, but they're relatively they're within the normal range of human sanity. Then something happens, they end up at Hugo Strange's mercy, and from that point on, they're a psychopath.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
nope.
no, that's not.
Two-Face was an accident. Joker was also technically an accident.
Two-Face they don't include. There's Harvey Dent is in one episode, but they knew that they could not really have either the actor refused to come back or they knew they could not do his origin without Batman. I don't know which.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, they're also supposed to be about the same age, so that'd be weird.
Yeah. Riddler, I believe, was just the guy going crazy.
Well, I don't think. Did Hugo Strange wind up doing anything to Riddler, or was that one just a natural?
In season 5, there's a major plot involving Hugo Strange and Riddler.
Okay,
that's something I was wondering about this too. They had throughout the entire show of Gotham, they had the issue of Riddler being schizophrenic, and then in season 4, they're not only is he schizophrenic, but it kind of doubles down, and I think this also comes down to people being ignorant of mental health. But they give him dissociative identity disorder, also known as multiple personality disorder, as if it were the same thing as the schizophrenia.
Nope.
And I've never seen that in any version of Joker before.
No. If anything, he should have OCD, because that was his thing. He could never do a crime without leaving a Riddler as a clue.
You could interpret him as having OCD because when he's in his Riddler persona, he can't answer a straight question. He has to give you a riddle and get you to answer. So you could interpret that as OCD, but it's not clear. But yeah, it's from seasons 1 through 4, basically it's the struggle between sane Enigma and the Riddler for control of the body. And then of course after he goes under Hugo Strange's knife, it's just the Riddler.
That's not how that character works.
No, they did that one wrong. And they started out with him so right.
That's sad.
But they started off with him seeing the Riddler in the mirror urging him to kill people.
Yeah.
But that was more like his subconscious. It was
by season 4 he's having full-on arguments and trading control of his body with that.
I stopped watching after season 3.
Yeah, that's
the thing is, you could have had some of these supervillains, but it's been they got defeated, they went underground.
Mm-hmm.
So only resurface after Batman showed up.
Right.
Yeah,
so
that's
they
what
could
you
have,
could have done with
so
some
could
of
have
them.
been like the villain of the season.
Kind of related to that, you get the impression they really wanted to use Mr. Freeze a lot more than they did, but someone told them we don't have the budget for his effects
His dome.
to show up more than twice a season.
Yeah, which is also the other thing is like Batman has plenty of just serial killer villains. Why not just use them to keep the budget down?
Yeah. Well, there's plenty of other things they could have used that are more or less normal people gone off the deep end one way or another, and that they could have done with a small budget.
Yeah, like I mean, they
And
have
could have
Zaz,
made
but
them,
they don't.
and they could have made them young enough that they could be reoccurring characters within canon later.
Yeah, like they have Zaz, they don't really go all the way with it, but I mean, the show would have to be like Game of Thrones to really get away with that.
I assume they didn't have Deathstroke
Right.
because Deathstroke was being used for other things, and they were being weird about sharing
Right.
characters. Also, I assume they didn't have Black Mask, or did they?
No,
Well,
I think the idea is that Black Mask always rose to power after the power vacuum created by taking out the Falcons and
I
everything
suppose that would
else.
make a little more sense too.
Plus,
yeah, so that's
they-
probably why he wouldn't
Black
show up.
They could have put him in the last few seasons, but they did not.
Yeah, they
as
should
far
have put him
as-
in this as a mention.
As far as I'm aware, I could be wrong, and this just could be a very specific continuity, but I feel like both Roman Sionis as Black Mask and Thomas Elliot as Hush are characters that knew Bruce Wayne as kids and then became villains when they got older.
Tommy Elliott, I know that's true. I wasn't aware of
Pretty sure Black Mask outright killed his parents.
You know what? Now that you say his real name, let me see if he appears in Gotham under that name, because I forgot that it was.
There was a Richard Sionis in the second season.
Okay.
So that might have been your very quick reference.
Probably a family member. And then for that matter, they might have wanted to use Black Mask, and then the movie people might have shut that down.
Either or,
Maybe.
yeah.
Because he was the big bad of a movie.
Yeah, I think
the movie rights were really weird between shows and movies. They didn't want to share between shows, and they didn't want to share between movies very often either.
Yeah, I know there's been I think I remember reading that there was a villain that's supposed to show up in one of the CW shows and then just never did because they were like, no, we're thinking of using this character for a movie.
Probably.
Yeah.
I know they had originally pitched that Deathstroke was going to have a much bigger role in Arrow, and then they planned him for the movies, and we're like, never mind, that's not happening.
He was in a big role.
He was, but he was going to have a big role in another season as well. And then they had to cancel that because he was going to be in the movies.
Yeah, they had to remove him because they were planning Suicide Squad. And that was horrible because his character in the CW shows was a lot better acted than the Suicide Squad one. Not that there was anything problem with Will Smith's, it's just that the other one was so well developed.
That's not Deathstroke.
Oh, Deadshot, yeah.
That's Deadshot, yeah.
Yeah, I think they killed him off in Arrow.
Yeah, they did. And they had planned to go another season with him.
Yeah. The way they've been managing these licenses has been weird. Anyway. All good on that one then, Bill?
Yeah, because we're well over the 5 minutes on that one.
Yeah. So moving on over to Fire Emblem Warriors.
Yep. It's kind of funny because I think the further I got into the story mode in this, I was like, if I wasn't grinding so much, I probably could have done this in like a week. Because
it's like a Dynasty Warriors game, correct?
It's a
you could have done sooner, but every once in a while you want to grind a little bit, not only just for getting used to the game, but also for just making sure you're ready for what's coming.
Oh yeah, there were very levels closer to the end. I was like characters were leveling several times during a single level, and I'm like, oh, well, shit, I'm either under leveled or like I'm just
possibility sometimes.
Whatever.
I remember the older Warriors games used to be hard enough that you need to go back and regrind levels because otherwise things would kick your butt so hard.
Yeah. It's funny because like with Hyrule Warriors, this was essentially my introduction to this franchise because I had never played. Oh, I guess I had, I had played Wind Waker HD by that time, I think, in with that, or I just played it first anyway. But Hyrule Warriors, it was a matter of, ooh, it's a Dynasty Warriors style game. Cool, I like those. And same with this, it's like I don't know much about Fire Emblem. I have never played a Fire Emblem game outside of this spin-off. And it's kind of funny because I feel like a lot of characters they probably get across, though some of them come off as very like generic hero types.
That's not to be surprising because this is a franchise that, by the way, dates back to the NES.
Yeah.
So there probably were a few main characters that were very much generic hero types.
Yeah, like
if they
you
went
run
that far back.
into. Yeah, you run into, because the idea is like shit is just going on that's fucking up the space-time continuum, and you've got characters dropping in from different games in the franchise, essentially. So
yeah,
that's
how you get them all there.
Yeah, so you've got like some characters running into kids that they haven't had yet. And like you encounter a young version of Marth, and certain characters are referring to him as this legendary hero from the past. And he's like, what the fuck? Because he has no idea that he has this reputation. And stuff like that. My favorite character, pretty much just because I find the self-awareness of it hilarious, is a character called Camilla, who is basically like the sexy one. And it's like she very blatantly has dialogue that makes that explicit. Like explicit as they can be in a Nintendo game about it.
A very PG explicit.
Yeah. There's like,
stuff to make you go, oh my, every 5 minutes.
Yeah, there's like dialogue, and like even the delivery of the voice is very seductive no matter what she's saying, pretty much, for the most part. And it's just so fucking funny to me. And they'll be like, that's enough punishment for now, tell us tell us the thing, and like all this stuff. And it's just, and like, and there's like another character who you can't even really play as, but like he says a line of, I'll attack from behind, and someone else goes, this isn't the time for that. And I basically took it as a sex joke, because it was like, well, considering who he's standing next to and, whatever, it was just like, okay, they're working these jokes in.
Yeah. Obviously, it's the voice actors having a fun time, if nothing else.
Although I will say, and because this is one of those games where it's animated with the Japanese voice acting in mind, with the cutscenes, I pretty much was like, okay, my brain has a really hard time with that if it was like English dialogue over what is very clearly mouth movements for Japanese. So I just switched to playing it in Japanese.
Okay.
Like the voice acting, I don't think what little I caught of the English voice acting was bad. It was just a matter of I can't.
Yeah, it's never been that Koei ever hires bad voice actors, but Koei has always tried to find ways to cut corners, and I think their most recent tactic is not reanimating lips.
Oh yeah, with them it's like they'll just get. I feel like with the actors with some of those, it's really just they just got whoever they could get, and they didn't really give a shit about directing the actor. In this case, it would have been Nintendo being like, "Hey, this voice acting better be decent." And it was just like the actors who were playing these characters in actual English releases of Fire Emblem games.
Yeah, it's more likely that they hired up previous actors. Yes.
Yeah, and it's like the thing that like bugs me closer to the end of this story mode is that these two characters that you're playing as that are an interesting twist is that you can actually switch between characters in this game, whereas in Hyrule Warriors it was like whoever you pick at the start, that's who you are. If you want to play this as a different character, you've got to play this in free mode. In this, you can pick up to 4 people that you can switch between when you encounter more people. And you can even team up. So you can literally have, like, essentially one character will disappear and you can switch between them. And if you have your, God, I forget what they call them in this game, but in Dynasty Warriors, it's just referred to as a Muso gauge. If both characters that you've got teamed up have them full, you can do combo like specials essentially. Which usually take off like way more health than just an independent one would, which came in handy in some instances. But yeah, like the 2 main characters sort of bug me after a point, because there's a point where a character that like I saw this coming, and there's like a character in it who I'm like, well, this is very convenient. Oh, turns out they're being possessed by the actual villain essentially, and they're still just like, no, we have to, like, we can't kill you, you're our friend, we'll save you somehow. And it's like, just fucking kill him, goddammit. Just it's like, I don't know, they just bug me so much that they were just so gung-ho on this, and then it doesn't even work out. Like, the guy just dies anyway. It's like, oh well, okay, whatever. But yeah, like, of course, I will say this has probably got the most unique boss fight I've ever had in any Dynasty Warriors type game, because the final boss is a fucking dragon.
Well, yeah, that's a thing.
You have to literally fight this fucking gigantic dragon, and like, I don't know how long it took, but it took a while to whittle down that health. But it was still just like, oh, well, and the part of that is like, when it's like, can just kill him, please? I don't really want to have to. And then like, oh, the dragon got it. Oh, great. Now I have to fight a dragon. Thanks a lot. But yeah, it's just, and yeah, essentially you beat the dragon, repair the space-time continuum, essentially. And it's funny because they're all like, we will never forget this. And all I'm just thinking is, they probably will.
Their memories are probably wiped the moment they go back.
Yeah. And just thinking like there's 2 where it's like, oh yes, we were at war before, but now that we've worked together, we will, we'll be fine and we'll work for peace and blah. And I'm just thinking, and then they disappear and their memories are immediately wiped and they're back to war.
They will disappear back to where they belong, and they're gonna get Doctor Who time-brained, and then they're just back to where they were.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're all just a bunch of Jamie McCrimmons heading back to fight the British off the Highlands again.
Yeah, it's like, it's a fun game anyway. Like, this is one of those things where the things I like about these is it's a good entry point, because you don't have to play a main game and figure out what the fuck's going on, because this is just a matter of, oh, okay, I'm, these are these characters. This is like a stepping stone. If I like this, I can move out and actually try one of the games, which I might. I'm not sure. I mean, like, the newest Fire Emblem game is 3 Houses, I think, and as far as the main franchise goes. So I might check that out. I don't know.
3 Houses does sound familiar. Sadly, I can't tell you much about the franchise. If Mike, my buddy, was here, he might be able to tell you more.
Is that the one I saw people talking about that almost seemed like it was like a Fire Emblem Hogwarts?
I think so.
Maybe. I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't follow Fire Emblem as close as I do other Nintendo properties.
I mainly know they have a lot of guys in Smash that have swords.
Yeah, that's their number one critique is, oh, look, it's another Fire Emblem character with a big sword. Oh, yay.
Which would make more sense if these games weren't getting more international releases. Because that was like a lot of people's first exposure to these characters was them showing up in Smash, because the games were like Japan exclusive at that point. So now it's like
They weren't all
maybe
Japan
come back
exclusive,
to
but
that.
most of them were.
Yeah, it was more of a niche thing, whereas now it's like they'll actually make big announcements about it and stuff. But yeah,
Mhm.
like if people are like me and have never played a Fire Emblem game before and like the Dynasty Warriors 1 versus 1,000 type gameplay, because I love it because it can be very cathartic to just mow through people.
Oh yeah, that's just the
um,
Warriors franchise in general.
no,
Yeah, I think
um,
personally I'll wait for Hyrule Warriors 2, which is due
yeah,
out
that's
next
fair.
month.
Mm. But yeah, like I would generally give these kinds of games a shot because it's at least with this again, it was a nice entry point to see if I actually like these characters and whatever, and if I actually want to go any further with it. So yeah, I would definitely recommend people check this out. I feel like Nintendo games are usually cheaper than other consoles, but even then, if it's a matter of it still being a bit expensive, especially with everything going on right now, like wait for it to go on a sale or something. There is
If
DLC as
Nintendo
well.
actually keeps this stuff at $60, they're actually going to be cheaper than the next gen console games right now.
Hmm.
They're all threatening
Um.
to go up to $70 as a baseline price.
um.
I'm just sitting over here on PC going, I can find better games for less.
Hmm. I will say there is DLC as well. I think it's all character based, and it's like
Yeah, usually
characters
if
from
they do
games that aren't
DLC for the Warriors
represented.
games, it's like
Yeah.
costumes and maybe
So
extra weapons or something.
yeah. So alternatively, if you want to wait for them to decide, okay, you know what? Let's release essentially Fire Emblem Warriors with all the DLC already on it, sort of like they did with the Switch version of Hyrule Warriors. Wait for that as well
They
if
might
they do
eventually
it.
do it, or they'll at least
Mm.
have some sort of sale on all the DLC at some point or something.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on.
The last one is me. So, Return to Castle Wolfenstein. I decided to play this despite not being voted for because I wanted to, first of all, I wanted some padding in time for voting, but also because Tim had usually been the one to vote for all the Wolfenstein games I've been playing. With Tim gone, I figured it was a time to just say, okay, this is the last Wolfenstein. Tim's no longer here for it, but you know what? I'm going to do it anyways, and I'm going to finish this for Tim. From what I can gather, the timeline for Wolfenstein's a little bit weird because Wolfenstein 3D, two halves of the game happen in very different time periods. The initial first part of the game happens at Castle Wolfenstein, but the second half happens in a particular bunker, if you will, hinting that somebody didn't take a cyanide tablet and instead it was a secret American mission. But this is supposed to apparently happen in between those two portions of Wolfenstein 3D. You once again play BJ Blazkowicz, who is the great-grandfather of Commander Keen, who is apparently the possibly great-grandfather of the Doom guy. That's how it ran their franchises. BJ is once again in the thick of things. He has been requested to research another new project going on with more supernatural means rather than weird scientific means behind it. And once again, it seems to have cropped up in the area around Castle Wolfenstein. He, however, is captured alongside his partner, and the very beginning of the game is literally BJ jumping down from the rafters onto a guard, killing the guy, stealing his gun, and going to try and save his partner. A couple of rooms in, and you find out your partner's been electrocuted to death trying to get secrets out of him. The rest of the mission is basically BJ trying to get out of there and also gathering up any materials he can. By the end of the first major story arc that you're a part of there, one of the Nazis grabs up a holy relic and basically becomes a Lovecraftian nightmare of undead immensity, and you have to lay down a lot of machine gun fire to end it. There are a couple more normal missions that happen throughout, but they do bring in the undead before too terribly long, and then they go into the crazy mix of magic and science stuff that apparently this game is attempting to do. They make some interesting enemies. You do feel threatened by some of the later enemies, which is actually a good thing, I feel, because if you're getting these bigger and bigger guns and you still feel threatened, then they're obviously upping the ante enough to keep you on your toes. And in fact, I was surprised as to what tactics actually worked on the final boss. I was trying to run into cover. What you need to do is you need to go in there with a Tesla gun and just go electrocute everything. Because otherwise they throw a lot of stuff at you that you can't block. So you actually have to go gung-ho on the end mission, which is kind of fun. And the big final moment at the end of the game is basically the people who have been periodically telling you the story between major chapters are going, oh, hey, so yeah, BJ finished everything. Yeah, it's really crazy, but seems that he's done a really great job. Sadly, we won't be able to tell anyone because this stuff is way outlandish. Yeah, I agree. So what's BJ up to anyways? Oh, he's up for some R&R. Fantastic news. Cut away, and BJ's literally setting off an explosion and writing down more Nazis with a machine gun. That's our BJ. Never a dull moment. But yeah, outside of the first time they force a stealth mission on you, I have to say the majority of the rest of the game is really good. Even the second stealth mission is a lot easier than the first one. For whatever reason, that first stealth mission, everyone can see you from a mile away. You constantly set off alarms, and when you set off the alarm, you immediately have to go back to your last respawn point and start the level over if you don't have one. It can be really annoying. But only that one mission. The rest of them usually is me going, dang it, it was partially my fault, and I'll agree to that and try it again, and this time I have a better idea what I'm up against. So, yeah, it's decently hard, but not overly so, and I enjoyed most of my time with it, except for that one stealth mission. No questions, I guess?
When was this game out?
Oh gosh, when was this one? Sadly, this is not the last one of the original franchise, but it's the last one they have out. Wolfenstein. When did you come out? I see price tags. Here we go. 2001?
2001. So.
Yeah, 2001.
So about 10 years after the original, give or take a year or two.
Thereabouts, yeah. I think actually the original was like 89, and then Spear of Destiny, which was the prequel, came out a year after, so we're around about 10 years until this sequel came out. And then I think somewhere around the vicinity of like another 5 or 6 years, and then the next one was made. I hear the next one was still good, but for whatever reason, it's not available on any digital platform. And then they did the reboot.
And if the reboot took things way off the rails, from what I've read.
Depends upon what you're looking at. The reboot, the first game was really good. I hear the second one took things a little too tongue-in-cheek, and then the weird side one with BJ's daughters was like really frowned upon. Like it was just like, why did you do this to this franchise kind of moment. They added like, not only were the characters written really unlikably, but also apparently there's a lot of like really weird, almost RPG elements thrown into this, and this is supposed to be a fast-paced first-person shooter, and it's like, that doesn't quite mesh.
Well, I read the most recent one was the fact that BJ was in like a coma for 20 years, during which the Nazis won, and
yeah, it said technically the reboot franchise after the DLC, which actually is supposed to take place when the normal games happened originally. It essentially reboots the original games. After that coma, then you get the main first game, and technically it's like an alternate history where the Nazis won. Yes.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's fucked up shit.
Mhm.
The Beatles singing in German. That's actually something you hear in the background. An old German version of "I Want to Hold Your Hand."
Mm.
Couldn't they have just given us Heino?
By the toy.
Okay, so yeah, apparently the 2009 one, which was apparently just called Wolfenstein,
For some reason, yeah.
was pulled from digital stuff in around 2000 and around like 2014. So it was available for like 5 years, and then they just randomly took it down for no reason. Apparently, it was like a financial, like it was apparently like a failure. So it apparently sold
Really?
pretty
Because
poorly.
I thought I heard that a lot of reviews for it were good. Oh, you know what? No, a lot of them were like
Like them,
7s,
yeah.
10s, which usually means it's actually more like a 5 or a 4.
Mm,
A couple of 6s in there
mm,
doesn't help any either. Yikes.
like apparently they only sold 100,000 copies in the first month.
So maybe it really wasn't that good, actually. Because, yeah.
Average
Eh.
reviews, yeah.
Yes, yeah. I usually, video game reviewers, for whatever reason, like the big popular magazines and stuff, will, unless it's absolute garbage, they'll usually be a little overly nice and give like 7s to something that's highly mediocre.
Mm.
And that's
It might.
generally across the board, like a 74 out of 100, 71 out of 100, and 72 out of 100 for aggregate scores on the 3 different versions of that one.
Yeah, after that game came out, Activision fired Raven Software from the Wolfenstein license.
And then it just completely removed the license from Activision, so... And now, I forget what the company is under Bethesda that makes them for id now.
Machine Games.
Machine Games. And from what I've heard, the first game was good. The second game is okay, and then this recent like third one, which is still technically not even supposed to be like a main game, was still really kind of all kinds of weird. I've heard that they're possibly trying to do an actual official third game. Then it's gonna try and bring things back around, but we'll wait and see.
All right.
I think it should just go back to id because they're doing awesome with Doom right now.
All right. So that's Return to Castle Wolfenstein.
Yep. Still
Going
a solid
forward.
game, and actually, I don't think I need to port anything. I think it actually had built-in widescreen. Not every game has that. The Star Wars game I'm playing right now has that too, and that's weird for a 90s game.
It might just be it had a variable resolution. There were some widescreen monitors back then. I know I had one.
Yeah, I'm sure there was some, but I don't think it would have been that popular. But I'm not going to argue with it. As long as I can stream widescreen, I'm fine. It means I don't have to see ugly stretching characters. Anyway, that's, I believe, the end of Geek Talk, too. So,
Yep.
Stopwatch, whose turn is it today?
It's mine.
Alrighty.
You sound so thrilled about that.
Well, I was fine with it before the Geek Talk, but the Geek Talk ran so long that half the episode plot has gone out of my head.
Well, I guess let me know whenever you're ready.
Just a moment.
Looking up something quick for a refresher.
Yeah,
No,
this is why.
throat tonic.
Oh.
All right.
Possibly forgetting stuff is why I usually write one down.
All right, ready?
Yep.
Start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so we start out on a planet out at the ass end of space. And then the ass end at the end of time. We're watching a bunch of people basically excavating a rock. And as somebody's looking around, he starts sinking into the ground and screaming at his second in command to take care of it. And he orders the area sealed. And then we cut to the TARDIS, where the Doctor's basically in the process of redecorating. Didn't he just do this? Anyway, the companions point out to him that he probably should be working on fixing the TARDIS rather than redecorating. The Doctor, of course, tish-toshes this, but then the TARDIS shakes, and they're suddenly going down to a planet the Doctor didn't want to go to. The TARDIS appears at the end of a meteor storm, which caused some casualties. Even though he's not supposed to help, the Doctor and crew come out and they escort people to their medical facility, which is understaffed, undersupplied, and without power. The Doctor does his best, orders the companions to go get some supplies from the TARDIS. When they get back to the TARDIS, they find the fact that the door to the rest of the TARDIS from the console room is sealed closed. They go to report this to the Doctor, but the Doctor's already in the middle of something because the new leader of the colony, the old one having sunk into the dirt, is a paranoid kid who thinks the Doctor is part of an invading alien force. They confront the Doctor about this, and the Doctor wants to go show them the TARDIS, but a meteor storm hits while they're about to go out, and during the meteor storm, the TARDIS is apparently destroyed. Meanwhile, the companions have broken into the crashed spaceship that started this colony and have stolen a battery in order to help get some lighting. This is important because the leader has taken a small meteor strike and in process of basically going to assassinate the Doctor, suddenly suffers not quite a heart attack, but an arrhythmia that causes him to go unconscious. The Doctor then uses the newfound power to zap him back to life, so to speak, creating a truce between them as the Doctor goes and investigate where this meteorite strikes are coming from. Eventually, it winds up being an assistant there and Turlo stuck in the formerly sealed-off lab. And Turlo gets distracted and discovers the fact that there is basically a hole going down into the surface of the planet from the lab. They descend into the tunnels. The Doctor comes to the lab, realizes they've gone down to the tunnels, goes down into the tunnels after them. Tegan, who was supposed to remain in the sickbay, breaks out of the sickbay, goes in, sees the open tunnel, goes down into the tunnel. We then proceed about 2.5 episodes of people wandering around the tunnel while Turlo starts freaking out as he remembers some racial past that plagued his planet, and a name Tractators. Horrible name to pronounce. Anyway.
Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
Anyway, these turn out to be giant slug people controlled by one guy and capable of mental powers to control gravity. Yeah, you heard it here, folks. Anyway, they capture the young female that was manning the sickbay, and then the Doctor winds up getting briefly captured, escapes. The female rejoins the main crew while the Doctor tries to hold them off. He gets caught, manages to escape again, teams up with Tegan, wanders around for a while, until it's eventually caught by basically the circle of Tractators and their digging machine, which is basically made out of machine parts and controlled by the mind of the captain that had sunk down at the first scene involuntarily. However, his time is running out, and in the meantime, they've managed to capture his son, the current leader, and sunk him down into the earth, and he's going to be prepped as a replacement. The Doctor manages to bullshit time until the military comes and starts trying to take out the Tractators, but they're not going to have much luck because they're pretty omnipotent as long as they have the Gravis. They wander around until Tegan eventually finds parts of the TARDIS. Apparently it had sunk into the Earth and has been slowly dissipating there. They find the console room, and the Doctor manages to hatch a plan to get the TARDIS back together, but they want to lure the Gravis there to isolate him from the Tractators, because that'll cause them to lose control and they'll just turn into harmless burrowing creatures. They manage to do so, then dupe the Gravis into willing the TARDIS back together, which it isolates them, and they basically transport him to a isolated planet on the ass end of the universe that has nothing but rocks. And they come back, bid adieu to everybody, and take off. The end.
6 minutes, 30 seconds.
That's good, because I could barely remember parts of it. And like I said, there's about 2.5 episodes of them just wandering around tunnels, variously getting lost and captured.
Yeah, the third episode in particular was a big fluff.
Yeah, apparently Peter Davison and Eric Sayward thought they could do it in half the time. I think they might have been able to do it in 3 at least.
Yeah, at least in 3 episodes, if they would have cut out all the extra fluff from between 2 and 4.
Or they could have put some of that time toward fleshing out the people that showed up at the end.
All right, let's talk about what we liked about the episode. Matt.
What I liked about the episode. Just trying to think of a general thing. I like the idea of the Doctor getting pulled into things unwillingly, because for a reason he's really nervous about helping out this episode. Maybe because it's so late in the timeline. I don't know.
That's the thing. It's supposed to be out of the domain of the Time Lords. Basically, apparently, according to this, the Time Lords had a range of anywhere in the universe from this time to this time. Anything before or after that is do not touch. And this was just on the do not touch zone.
So that apparently made him very nervous. But the fact that despite his constant qualms and desires to leave, he eventually gets pulled into things anyways, just because of his nature of trying to help out people. Which is not a thing you get to see every day with the Doctor, but it is a thing that does get him usually. One of the things that will pull him in no matter what. These people are injured, let's help them to get to the medbay. The medbay is understaffed and underpowered, let's go get some help for this medbay. What's this? You found even more things going on underneath the planet? Oh, that might explain why all these other things that cause these people harm in the first place is happening, and it just continues to snowball from there.
Yeah, Peter Davidson is on record as saying that he does like this episode because it's probably one of the first episodes he felt like this was actually written for. This is how the Doctor should be played.
Mm-hmm.
So,
as a matter of fact, even as his Doctor said previously, why does my curiosity always get the better of me?
All right, Bill, what did you like about the serial?
So I liked the temporary cast. I thought they were very distinct. There's Brazen, Norna, Plantagenet, and Range, and all of them were very distinguishable. They all had their own traits and goals and personalities, and I thought that was very good.
All right, Thomas, how about you?
I generally liked that as much as at least 2 of the characters are very vehemently against the Doctor, that they actually do, because like we've watched stuff before, and Doctor Who does have a bad habit of this sometimes where
people just illogically keep being angry at him.
Yeah, and they like, even when they've seen the threat, they won't come around to him. Whereas like this, it has the guy who's in charge comes around and changes, and like the sort of stock military character essentially sacrificing himself to let them get away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, normally that would just be like they die still ignorant and
being
like
a
not wanting
a-hole.
to work with the doctor. Yeah. Whereas in this, it was nice that they actually were like, no, they'll actually.
Not only did he die, but he died going above and beyond the call of duty for his particular
Yeah.
job, making sure everyone else got out.
Hmm.
All right. So, I guess what I liked in here was the companions, particularly Turlo's role in this,
Oh, yeah, that was interesting.
because he basically becomes face to face with his own cowardice in this.
Mm-hmm.
He's fighting something that he instinctively fears. And, there's that point where he does not want to go back down in the tunnel, but does it anyway.
Right.
And I think that was kind of a moment for his character.
Sorry, seems to be just a moment here. Come on.
Matt,
There we go.
I think we've lost Matt.
Oh, there we go.
Did you just have another one of those massive hiccups?
Just had a hiccup. Yep,
Everything streaming still, or?
should be. We
Yeah,
put
stream
put
does
on
seem to
safety
still
measures
be
for it,
live.
and I don't know why that picture's not loading. Maybe that's part of the reason.
Yep. What?
All right. Anyway, Matt, I was asking you what you disliked about this serial.
There we go. Disliked about this serial journal thing. Oh, just a journal thing. I felt like they've done the visual effect. Maybe it came later in the franchise, but I thought they did the visual effect of people getting pulled into the ground better previously.
Oh yeah, they had.
Yeah, that effect in particular was an important one for this story, and it felt like they kind of half-ended it most of the time.
All right. Bill.
Oh, good. My internet came back just in time for my turn.
Oh,
Is everybody else in the universe having internet problems?
apparently
Yes.
everybody must be having a hiccup tonight.
So I don't know what Matt said, so hopefully I don't say the same thing.
People pulling to the ground. The effect was a little iffy.
So I'm going to say the fact that the mouths moved for the tractator costumes just mainly drew attention to the fact that they had dead plastic lifeless eyes, which I honestly don't think I would have paid any attention to if it was just a stationary mask like you would have seen in the second or third Doctor era. But the fact that the mouth was so animated just drew attention to the fact that the rest of the face just looked dead.
It was unmoving,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that would have worked because given the friggin' powers that they've got, you could just argue that they communicate telepathically or something.
Yeah. That would have actually been a good argument for not animating the mouths and just making them just look a good way somehow.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting what they did do with the mouths, but the fact that it was coupled with these dead plastic eyes did not do them any favors.
Nope.
All right.
And I guess to like tag on to that, the main thing that I have against that costume in general is just that I'm like, the first time they show up, I'm just like, whoa, okay, did I suddenly stumble into watching a Sentai? Like, that's why I made the joke. They honestly look like they could have been scabbed from like some Sentai show in Japan where they had a very low budget for the monster and we're just like, fuck it, this'll do. Or even like Power Rangers or something. But yeah, it was just like
Make my tractor grow!
yeah.
Yeah.
Um But yeah, like,
I've got a splitting headache.
it's yeah, it's just, and it's funny in hindsight that even the guy who wrote this was just like, yeah, I probably should have not had
Probably
been so
should pull back
ambitious
on
with
some
my
of this.
concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as he also brought up, it's like the people above me probably should have also said, "Hey, we can't afford this.
Yeah.
Can you rewrite it, please?"
They did
All
with
right.
some things, but not enough of them.
So my major issue with this one was the costuming for the surviving humans. This is supposed to be near the end of time in the far future beyond which the Doctor's allowed to go. Yet the humans are wearing generic jumpsuits looking no different really from the ones we saw in Earthshock,
Yeah.
with helmets they stole from Blake 7.
I knew that was going to come up.
Mm-hmm.
Which is only supposed to take place about 700 to 1,000 years in our future. Not fucking millions of years.
Yeah.
It's like, guys, you could have done a little more ambitious with this with the same budget. Come on.
Admittedly, they could have possibly done a little bit more, but I would also urge you to remind you that only a year or two before this, in the same series, we've seen them not be able to make good helmets for futuristic civilizations. So,
Yes, but
yeah.
Flake 7 was only 3 years in the hole at this point.
Yeah, they pulled off the
Everybody that
helmets
saw
too
that
soon.
Yeah, everybody that saw the serial went, "Oh, great, that's Federation Trooper helmets from Blake 7." Because they're the same color ring, the same color with just a little logo popped on the front. Yeah.
Which is funny because I feel like there have been times where they've reused props but recolored them so it looks slightly different.
That's
could be
different
wrong.
when you redress a prop. But you need a little more redressing than slapping a logo on the front. If 90% of the prop is still recognizable, you haven't redressed it enough. If they had, like painted that outside ring or something, at least then it would have been, a little less recognizable.
I will say one thing: they at least repainted or redone up some parts of the uniforms from Earthshock, if they were the same ones.
I don't think they were.
I don't think they were either, but I think they borrowed some of the patterns from it. And at least they added some more color to them that wasn't just straight up green uniforms like they were in Earthshock.
And I guess it's better than the Thriller jackets in Warriors from the Deep.
True.
All right, favorite scene, Matt.
Oh, favorite scene. Oh gosh, which one do I want to go with? Actually, I'm gonna go with the bit where Turlo was very adamant about trying to figure out what's going on here because he suddenly realized the hook and pulley thing shouldn't be there if this place had been sealed off for so long, and then even found out that there was stones being dug up and brought in well after the lab should have been closed. Just Turlo sticking his nose into a particular spot and going, wait, this doesn't make a lot of sense, until he's literally just lifting up floor panels and finding tunnels.
Yeah. And that's literally something you'd normally see the Doctor do.
It's something, yeah, it definitely shows that the Doctor has had a good effect on Turlo. Yep. He's finally seeing stuff too, and he's putting stuff together.
All right. Bill?
Right, I'm going to say when the Doctor confronts the Gravis with all the information that he's worked out on his own, the fact that he figured out from how the TARDIS was dragged down that the Gravis had actually dragged the humans to Frontios, and all of that. It was a very good Doctor scene.
All right. Thomas?
Ooh, there was almost something else that I was going to go with, but I'll leave that, and instead I'll go with the first episode's cliffhanger, essentially, because I had no idea that was a thing. So them just being like, oh shit, the TARDIS destroyed. I'm like, holy fuck, that's a cliffhanger. Like, we've seen, like, this season of the podcast, some pretty shitty cliffhangers, or just some cliffhangers that are like, they needed a cliffhanger and it's immediately resolved in the next episode anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like not resolved until the end of basically the end of the story. So it's like, oh shit. It's like,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
not
if
resolved
that
at that
couldn't
point,
put
and at that
people in,
point, the
I don't know
Doctor's
what
like,
would.
I know what actually happened to the TARDIS. It's not actually destroyed.
I mentioned
Yeah.
this before the podcast, but apparently they were debating actually removing the TARDIS from the show, which would have been bad.
That would have been a
Hmm.
very bad idea, because how does the show actually work after that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is funny to watch the behind the scenes and the varying reactions of Bidmead being like, over my dead body, they'll fucking do that. And like, friggin' Saywood being like, I have no idea why he would have entertained that idea. And Peter Davison being like, no, I think he was just trolling.
Which is
Yeah.
always possible. It was
It-
just he had said that in an interview to add shock value.
It would have been a Hitchhiker's Guide to Time and Space, and somehow we think Douglas Adams might have been a little too pissed at them to let that go unchallenged.
Well, Doctor, the TARDIS is still dead, but we saved Frontios, right? What are we going to do now? Let's go to Milliways. Yeah. Yeah. Not working.
Nope.
All right, so we're going to Milliways next episode, Peter. Can you do double roll as the dish of the day?
It's been a while back. Can you give it a try?
Yeah, I don't see them doing that without Douglas Adams laying down a lawsuit.
Oh, look, we just got mail from Douglas
Well,
Adams. I wonder what he's got to say. Oh, no.
Well, it was about time for Peter to be leaving the show soon. Maybe they could have lobbed a bit off of him as meal of the day and caused him to regenerate into Colin.
No, Bill.
Regeneration by cannibalism. Yay.
You don't want people eating Time Lord. No. All right.
The other white meat.
The ultimate weight loss plan? I don't know.
Now
Anyway.
it appears you're generating into Colin.
I wasn't talking for the Doctor. First you've eaten him, now you haven't. Anyway. Who are we at?
That was
I
just
think we're
me.
me. Okay, so
yeah,
it's
I
at
think
me.
we're true.
So my favorite scene was Turlo holding off the Earth soldiers with a hat with a coat rack.
Oh, what is this one mysterious thing that made a flashy thing? How no, but
fact
it looks
that
threatening.
The fact that he was able to bluff them down for like 20 minutes by wielding a coat rack at them. It's such a Doctor Who thing.
Yeah.
How will we convince them to let us go? I know a way. Coat rack ho.
Next, we'll unravel the towels. Beware. Snap.
It's like
I mean, it's no deadly jelly baby, but
yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up. It's like Tom Baker threatening people down, or I'll kill you with this deadly jelly baby. Yeah.
and I don't think that one worked.
No, that failed within like 5 minutes.
It did it first. Yeah.
Goes to show the intelligence of the human race in this one. But still, it was just one of those moments of like excellent bluff.
Mm.
All right.
Oh, and they even gave it away as a gift at the end too.
Yes, I know. At that point, they knew it was harmless, but still.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Matt. Your
Least favorite scene? It's not particularly big thing, but I remember just one of the dialogue scenes. It's not even the eyes for me for the tractators. There's these long pauses on the tractators as they're talking, and yes, you get the mouth and the weird dead eyes, but even more so for me is the flappy arms that look like a bunch of kids that don't have their arms properly inside their winter coats. And they're just these rubbery, flappy arms. I'm just like, oh, for crying out loud. I understand you're trying to, but dang.
Which I guess, speaking of the voices, rewatching this, I thought, this almost sounds like they're doing South Park voices for aliens. Or something.
But yeah, there's this one particular scene where they just slowly panning in on the tractator leader, and he's just got these rubbery, flappy arms. You can tell his hands aren't fully inside the actual arm things. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah, they were so ambitious with what they were going to do with the tractators, and then they got the costume, and they're just like, we can't do anything.
Yeah, they were super ambitious with what they were doing. They were trying to make a nice design, and the nice design failed to actually be something that the suit wearers could actually use.
All right, Bill, your least favorite scene.
So I'm going to go with, it felt like it was extremely abrupt when they're having this whole trial scene and Brazen is all, covering up information, and he's surely going to, have them tried for sedition just for finding out about this information. And then this guy he doesn't really know starts babbling about pseudoscience, and he immediately changes sides, pretty much no question, to working with them from that point on. And it just seemed way too abrupt and unbelievable for me.
I actually have a theory on that. I believe he was holding that trial to get a hold of the information. It's like he had noticed this too and was trying to get a hold of it, but the only way he could get a hold of it was drag it to the surface.
Drag it to the surface and then try and take it away. But now all of a sudden he's been given a totally another direction to go in, which is, oh wait, there's actually a baddie behind all of this because I've actually seen it myself. Holy smokes, we might actually have something that we can go on now. Wait a second, give me more information.
Yeah, to me it was like the military guy finding out, oh wait, this might just be here, then we can deal with it now. Sweet.
Basically it just went from strong army people to literally, oh, we have something we can literally shoot.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot easier. And it's not even on our own people. Fantastic.
All right, Thomas.
Let's see.
But it was very quick.
This could qualify as both, like best and worst, and like no one's taken it yet, and hopefully I'm not taking this from Randy, but Turlo's initial like freak out. Oh, actually no, not his initial freak out, but like one of them, and he's just foaming at the mouth and whatever. It's he's rolling. It's like it's like it's funny. So it's like, again, it's on that borderline where it can count as I could have said this as both best and worst because it's just
him being
hilarious.
So over top shocked.
Yeah, like this is the thing that I said last week where I was like, there's some Turlo acting in this one. Like Turlo gets a moment in this one, and it's like, oh, okay.
No, that wasn't mine. That was acceptable to me. I didn't think it was a great scene, but I didn't think it was horrible.
Yeah.
No, mine was Tegan finding the TARDIS underground and how they handled that.
Yeah, that's
especially when they are reintegrating the TARDIS. And they couldn't decide whether they were going to either do rocks crumbling away from it or just having stuff dissolve away, and decided to use a mix. I'm like, ugh.
God, that's a joke I was intending to make when we, like at the start, was, oh, so that's the inspiration for Jodie Whittaker's TARDIS.
Oof.
Bunch of rocks being in the TARDIS.
The inspiration for rocks fall, everyone dies. Except it's the complete opposite. Rocks fall and the main characters all live.
I just found it to be a what the fuck handling of it. I know they would have done so much better of it in the new series if they tried to do that, but still.
Yeah, that particular point of it seemed to be like super rushed. Like I almost thought of it the last minute. In particular, the explanations behind it.
All right, final thoughts, Matt.
Final thoughts. I will say this is another one that does suffer a little bit from execution, but this one does not suffer from execution nearly as much as some of our previous episodes we've been reviewing. The Doctor seems on point. Turlo seems to be on his good portion of his run. Tegan is actually doing pretty well for the most part. There's some awkward moments. There's some weird questioning with the costumes for the monsters. The costuming also for the humans is kind of a bit iffy. If you really think about it, you understand where they came from very easily. I will say though the plot itself is interesting, and the most of the visual effects are actually done pretty well for the most part.
All right. Anything else?
About covers most of my bases.
Okay. Bill?
Bill?
I think the character. Yeah, sorry, I was muted and trying to talk.
Okay.
I think the characters were the main core of this episode. It was great having them all have their own agendas and all having some sort of logic. Even the person who was most against them, was able to be persuaded and not just, continuously against them until the very end for no good reason. I liked the Tractator costumes when I first saw them. It was only upon seeing them a little more closely that started to crumble a little bit. But overall, I think this was a pretty good serial. As we mentioned, it had some challenges, but I think it was definitely on the good side.
All right. Thomas?
Yeah, this is one where I think I liked it more on the first go round, and it was just because there were certain things I wasn't aware of, like the destruction of the TARDIS and all that. That being said, the acting is still good, and is mainly what carries it. Like any deficiencies in certain aspects, and I'm usually a bit forgiving with that because we all know that Doctor Who had like such a shit budget to work with for the most part. So I'm usually fine with that, and this is all studio stuff anyway. Like the Turlo bit is like is just so like hilarious. I guess my main issue with that is probably just that it goes on a bit long. After they first do it, and then it's like he's like that for like 10-15 minutes. It feels like, but other than that, yeah, it's like the acting is solid. I guess the one thing that felt weird to me was just that aspect of, oh, don't tell the Time Lords or whatever, which, I mean, they should be able to see you doing this anyway, but, it just felt like lip service to the fact that they used to be a threat, but oh well.
All right. Is that everything?
Yep.
All right. So this one's okay. The acting, very good. The plot actually is fairly well written. However, the costuming let down the writing. And really, mostly my issue with this is the costuming, now that I think about it. Directing seemed to be okay. Acting seemed to be okay. Writing seemed to be okay.
Yeah.
Basically, costuming and special effects. So once again, I can give the BBC the problem for the special effects because of the budget, but I can't say the same about the costuming.
Yeah, they've done better jobs than this, but then again, also they've done worse jobs than this.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to say it's terrible. I'm just saying
the costume is very hotly mediocre.
Yep. Especially the Tractator. Because they had so many plans and had to ruin them.
Yeah, the Tractators were ambitious and then faulty, and then the rest of it was.
And what annoys me is they would revisit giant slug monsters like 4 cereals later, and they didn't come off any better.
Not by much. At least their arms are mobile.
But the thing is, it's even worse at that point because you thought they would have learned.
Yeah, they didn't obviously learn that as much as you would hope.
I mean, I might have to retroactively lower my rating for that episode just because now I know they should have known better.
That we've had this monster before. Have we learned anything? Only half our lessons. Dang it!
It's like eventually they just realize, you know what? Let's just have like an actual person with their face kind of showing and just like give them a mermaid tail or whatever for slug people when they did Syl.
Oh, well, Syl worked great.
Yeah, that was their third attempt, and it finally turned around.
Yeah, but when you think about the mysterious planet, where again you have the slug monster, I gave that one a 3. I'm starting to wonder if I should have given that lower because they should have known
I just
better.
wonder if they just crap with bug stuff because I feel like like the web planet, the weird the friggin' fly thing from Green Death we didn't like.
The maggots were great though.
Oh yeah, the maggots are great, but like
they do fantastic with
dodgy
maggots,
fly.
apparently.
They do great with larval bugs. It's
So everything else is just kind of
yeah. All right, so let's rate this. Matt, you're first.
I think that the acting makes up for at least a little bit of it, so I'm still giving this one a 4.
All right, Bill.
Yeah, I was thinking some of the things that bothered you didn't quite hit me as much, so I'm probably leaning toward the 4.
Thomas.
You know what? Yeah, I can agree with that. Like, I'm just trying to think, was there anything that would actually drag it down that low enough? But no, a 4 seems reasonable.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the group on this.
Oh, we've agreed on a number.
Here I thought a 4 was going to be the high, and I guess it technically was, but only technically.
Well, yeah, I mean, the only thing that failed was the costuming, and most of I have double blame to that, so.
Well, I know you mentioned a few times being frustrated with the pace of the plot, which did not affect me at all, but I figured it caused a ding on your side.
It was a little knee-jerky at times, but it wasn't horrible.
It didn't bother me. It's actually the people involved with it that had issues with it.
I do love that
Peter
this
Davidson
is like
and Peter Davidson and Eric Sayward both thought they could have done it in less.
They could have, probably.
Yeah. I do find it funny that we have essentially ended the season with the only time that we actually all agreed on the rating.
Hey.
Well, it just so happens to be our last Fifth Doctor one, and it's one we actually all unanimously agree. It's a 4.
It's a 4, which puts it at 168 out of 362 things reviewed. It is on par with The Censorites, The Aztecs, A Good Man Goes to War, Attack of the Cybermen, The Runaway Bride, Vengeance on Veros, oddly enough. Heaven Sent, Terminus. Castrovalva, oddly enough, which was another bid meet, I think.
Yep.
Light at the End, Planet of the Spiders, Rose, and Spyfall. It is better than Knock Knock, The Deadly Assassin, Brain Morbius, Colony in Space, Warrior's Gate, Midnight, The Monster of Peladon, etc. And not as good as Oxygen, The Daemons, The Pilot, The Space Museum, Can You Hear Me, It Takes You Away, Closing Time, The Girl Who Died, etc. Once again, that is 168 out of 362. That is all we have to say about Frontios.
Can't blame that placement.
All right, so please comment below. Let us know what you think of Frontios. Did you think we were wrong and it should be a 5, or do you think we went way too high and it should be a 2 or a 3, or possibly even a 1? And don't forget to like or dislike the video if you feel those ways, and to subscribe on YouTube or follow on Twitch or both to keep getting our new podcast updates.
All right, so we will be back in 2 weeks for the start of our 15th season. We're going to talk about some favorites next time. It's Unearthly Podcast's favorite companion special next time. And that'll be on, come on, calendar, the 29th, or the 28th, excuse me. Forgot we went past midnight.
Yep.
So it'll be on the 28th. So we'll see you then.
Alrighty. Good night.
All right, night all.